So I was really excited when I received the email asking me to be a part of this night. It's something that I have wanted to do for years, so naturally when I got that email, I started writing immediately. Now, my first draft was about finding God's message in failed situations. But the more I thought about it, I scrapped it because I can't realistically talking about something that I'm still trying to navigate on my own. The second draft was about childhood rape and assault and how the coping mechanism I thought would keep bad things from happening to me actually followed me into adulthood and created all sorts of chaos. As ready as I thought I was to hop on this stage and tell my personal business, the anxiety that took over me tapped me on my shoulder and said, "Sis, this isn't it." As performance day grew near, I had no clue what I was going to talk about. I read through my previous draft, and the title from the first attempt stuck out, Message in the Mess. While it was originally intended to be used in a different context, I realized there was another story worthy of being told, finding the message in my mess. Now, there was a time in my life where I spent several years dealing with multiple layoffs. I missed out on the prime of my late 20s and early 30s because while my friends were out traveling, popping bottles, and standing on couches, I was sitting at home spending my days trying to figure out if my career was screwed before it even fully got started. My soul physically ached. I'd lie in bed day after day wondering to myself, or telling myself, this isn't who you are, this isn't how things are supposed to be. Now, those of you who have tried to find a job in this Memphis economy know that it's not the easiest thing to do. But a now ex-girlfriend encouraged me to pursue my passion, journalism. I like to think that I was far ahead of my time because the typical role of a reporter didn't interest me in any way whatsoever. I wanted to tell creative stories. I wanted to shine a light on the people, places, and things who are most often overlooked right here in our city. I always jokingly, but not really, say I created my own internship. I branded myself as Nick the Editor, I started a blog, and I spent my last $700 on a camera from the Sam's Club on 64. If there was an event happening, I was there. Instagram became a helpful tool not just to share moments in time, but also to make connections. Now, because my undergraduate degree is in what I like to call basket weaving, which is actually professional studies, I went back to the U of M and I took a few journalism classes just so I could get the basics underway. Ooh, wait a minute. Struggling to find a job, where was I? Hold on, give me a minute. Here we go. More than anything, I was transparent about my journey, and I received encouragement from people I had never even met, many of whom remain close friends to this day. It was Josh and Jasmine who encouraged me to check out the journalism program. It was Kelly who connected me to the late Bernal Smith II, may he rest in peace, at the Tri-State Defender. And it was Angela who let me write a press release, giving me constructive criticism so that I would nail it the next time. And most importantly, it was Annika who wouldn't let me give up and who encouraged me and taught me how to make my own seat at the table. Still, my life was a mess. I worked hard to show potential employers why I was who they wanted, but yet I always seemed to come up short. At the height of the mess, in July of 2015, I accepted a digital content job at a Biloxi news station. I was a wreck because although I knew it was meant for me, I didn't want to go. I only discussed it with 2 close friends and my mom because I didn't need anyone stirring the shit while I was still trying to make sense of it. In August, not too long before I said my goodbyes, I sat down in my pastor's office and let everything out. After 15 years in the city that embraced me, I was starting over at the age of 33. Among other sound wisdom, Pastor Johnny looked me in my eyes and told me, this is your year. This is your Jesus year. Pay attention to the numbers and live with expectation. Now, for my fellow church girls, you know all about those last 3 words. And John 4:13 instructs us, whatever you ask in my name, I will do so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If you ask me anything in my name, I will do it. Now, of course, God already knows the desires of our heart, the new job, your own business, the new man, maybe the new woman. But not believing that he'll work all of that out according to his will for our life is counterproductive. Now, at one point, I actually decided to stop asking him for what I wanted. During prayer at the Life Church, I'd simply lift my hands and tell him, do your will, and put me wherever it was I was meant to be. When it became clear that Biloxi was my assigned position, I packed a U-Haul and drove south. Now, I'm honest enough to admit that on that 6-hour drive, I rethought that whole entire strategy. After my daily tears dried and I accepted that I was bound by contract to be there for 2 years, I embraced Coast Life. See, you know what I was feeling. I went on adventures. I recruited people at work to teach me new skills, and I even talked my boss to letting me be on TV, because this face was made for the Tizu. But when it was time to renew my contract, I had a nervous breakdown, literally. I couldn't eat and I couldn't sleep. A few days before I had to make a decision, I sat in the station parking lot and bawled, unable to catch my breath. I didn't want to resign that contract, but I didn't have any other choice. I was afraid of the coast becoming my new normal, which in and of itself wasn't a bad thing, but career-wise, it also wasn't the best thing. Now, after falling into the arms of a manager, I was able to calm down, and I eventually signed the papers, but I also committed to making the best of whatever came next. So, what came next? An offer for a digital content manager job in Shreveport. The director sought me out. She picked me. She chose me. But after everything was almost finalized, something happened. The newspaper here in Memphis made an offer. I had to get back to my city. I had to get back to the people I knew and loved me, knew who loved me and embraced me for who I was. Even though the choice to come home and work in print made me more miserable than I was far away from home, it was all part of God's plan. More importantly, it was part of my mess. As it turned out, that particular mess led me to a job at ALSAC doing exactly what I prayed for all those years, telling creative stories and shining a light on the people, places, and things who were most often overlooked. Now, whatever your mess may be, I'd like to leave you with these few words. For some of us, the other side of the rainbow requires us to go through a little bit of mud first. Not because we are less than, but because there are lessons along the way. Our valleys, our messy, muddy valleys, weren't meant for us to set up camp. Don't stay there, y'all. That's not what it's there for. They were meant to be a place where we can grow and strengthen ourselves in order to make it out to the other side. So should you ever feel shattered into a million pieces by your mess, remember, it's okay to be broken. The broken pieces are here to remind us that we're still here. We're still on this earth, and the best is yet to come.